Hey YouTubers, I think I owe you something. I think I owe you an overview and review of the Chamonix 045F1, the wooden 4x5 folding camera that I've featured in one, maybe two videos. This camera deserves review, even though I'm not a 100% fan. We'll get into why, but I think you should have a look at this thing. So first I'm just going to demonstrate setting it up. I'm going to get it into the tripod head first. I've just got an Arca Swiss tripod plate on the bottom of it. So you mount the camera to your tripod head, then you unlock these back locking knobs. Lift the back, and it's got, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, it's got a couple of catches on the back that allow it to just come up into the 90-degree position. So that's nice. It's not perfect. It's better than nothing though. So that gets you aligned on the back. The next part is the weird part with these. This is called a Phillips design camera. You have to connect the front standard to the focusing rail. And I kind of talked about this in the out and about kind of shooting video when I was taking the camera down. I'm going to do the opposite now. I'm going to put it together. And what you have to do is you have to pick the right hole. This may not show in the video, but let me see if I can show it. This will be interesting. Here we go. So there's 5 holes here, and you need to pick the right hole to put the front standards bolt into, and you pick the right hole by experimentation essentially. I'm sure you could find sources online where people have said, here's the hole I use for a 150 millimeter lens, but I'm just going to go ahead and stick it in the middle hole here. And basically you screw this bolt for the front standard in there to set the camera up to shoot. So you're basically assembling the camera to some extent to get it ready to go. And then what I'm doing now is, and there are some dots you may have seen in the prior piece of video, those are basically registration marks and allow you to find the center point. I'll just go ahead and try to show that again. So these dots right here, and you can see I've got the front standard centered with respect to those dots and the dots on the standard itself. That makes sure you don't have swing going. And I've also got it centered this way to make sure that it's centered with respect to shift. So you're probably already getting a little hint as to one of the things I don't love about this camera. So now that we've got the standard attached, we need to get it to the right center point for rise so that it's basically zero rise. And you do that by using these little registration marks here. You're probably already getting a feel for how this is slightly different than some other cameras. You've got a little more work to do to get it all centered, which isn't a big deal if you're not in a hurry. So we're essentially ready to go if we get a lens on the camera. So let's throw this lens on. This is 180 millimeter and it's in a Linhof Technica board. So these are very common boards. It's a great thing about this camera. It takes a really common board. To lock it into place, you just turn these little, I don't know what you call them, lock discs, whatever, one on each side. It goes in very smoothly and nicely. It's very nice to use. They make their own carbon fiber lens boards, which are really nice. They're light and kind of luxurious. The downside is they're kind of thick and they don't fit on any other cameras other than Chamonix cameras. So I don't use them. I just use the, you can get them off eBay, the cheap Chinese Technica boards. So now the camera is essentially squared and set up. You can start shooting. Great. But what if you want to use movements? Let's say I want to put a little fall on the front movement. That's easy to do. You just grab these knobs, loosen them, and lower it. But wait, what's happening here? I'm getting tilt. I just wanted to do fall. Well, this is one of the major problems with the camera in my opinion. It's a problem for me. It may not be for you if lightweight is your chief thing. It's a problem for me because it is fiddly. It makes me fiddle. So all I wanted to do was do a little bit of fall. So now I've got to deal with this tilt that came in that I didn't want. So basically it's easy to do. You just you can do it by feel, get the lens board back to vertical, and you're good to go again. And you've got your fall in place. Okay, so what I call this is non-orthogonality in movements. There are two pairs of movements that are connected to each other on this front standard. If I want to do swing, let me get the lens back up. Oh, look what happened. Yeah, I got to fix that again. Okay, so if I wanted to use swing, I release this bolt that I used to put the standard on, and then I can turn the front standard to get my swing. But you'll also notice that I can get shift by unlocking the same control. This doesn't happen as often as the tilt happening when you're trying to do rise and fall, but it's a possibility. It's another non-orthogonal pair of movements, and it's ever so slightly annoying, and if you get it off, then you've got to come to the front and re-register it. So these are my primary cons with this camera. Aside from that, it's pretty cool. Let's move to the back. The back has a lot of movements as well. So we saw how it magically stopped due to these sliders. Let me slide them out of the way. Obviously right now I'm demonstrating that you can do back tilt forward. You can also, if you hold your mouth right, you can also do backwards back tilt as opposed to forward front tilt. So I use this quite a bit. If you look on my Flickr stream, you'll see that I talk about it. You've seen it in prior videos. I tend to use back rear tilt rather than front forward tilt. The reason for that is it gives you a little more obvious perspective effect, and it's just something you make as an artistic choice while you're shooting. But I want you to notice this: once you've unlocked these back locks, the thing's just free to go. How are you going to make sure that it's perfectly 90 degrees again? Well, it's just not all that easy. You can put the back locks back into place. They're there. Now it's at 90 again. So you can do it, but it's a little annoying. All right, so let me get those locked in. I'm going to take the back locks back out of position. I want to demonstrate one really cool feature of this camera, which is asymmetric back tilt. So I've locked the normal base tilt into place, and I've unlocked the asymmetric tilt lock nuts, and now I can apply an asymmetric tilt to the back. That is, if I hold my mouth right and get all the locks out of position. So now you can see that the back is sliding on a different axis. And what this allows you to do is get the thing in focus that you want in focus. There's lines on the ground glass you're not going to be able to see very well. And then when you apply your tilt, that will stay in focus, and the rest of the image you adjust until that's in focus as well. It's a little more convenient than base tilts and the other types of tilts where you have to kind of keep kind of honing in on total focus. This is a little more convenient for that. So it's a really nice feature. It's just that if you've got the camera locked and you try to do the asymmetric tilt, oh, you can't do it. Why can't you do it? Oh crap, because the little 90-degree lock guys are in place. Sometimes you have to undo the back locks in order to slide those guys out of the way. It's just, as I'll keep saying, it's a very fiddly camera to use, even though while you're fiddling with it, you're loving it. So now I'm really messed up. This is a perfect demonstration. Let's see. The asymmetric tilt does have a detent in it, which is nice. That's the only detent on the camera. But now I want to get the back to 90 degrees, and I'm trying to slide this lock into place, and it's not doing it because I'm probably a little out of center on the asymmetric tilt. So, I mean, this is a perfect demonstration, or maybe I'm an idiot, but I go through this a lot with this camera. I guess it wasn't perfectly in the detent. So now I've got the locks back in place, or the stops, they're not really locks, and the camera's set up again. So you might be saying right now, geez, this guy's making a real mess of this. Well, this is the way it is every time I use this camera. What can I say? I never run into this kind of BS when I'm using an Arca Swiss. And I doubt I would run into it in any other monorail camera. Maybe it's a field camera thing. Although my Horseman doesn't really make me grit my teeth as much as this camera does. All that said, this is still a great camera. Why is it great? Well, it's got gobs of extension. If I move the lens board to the front hole here, I can run a really long lens. I think it's, I hate to say, I haven't studied, sorry. Maybe a 350 millimeter lens or so. So that's great. The bellows is super nice. It's very pliable. It's a synthetic bellows. One of the great things about it is you can go really short with it. And I'm going to run out of room here. But this section at the front, they call this a universal bellows. It's very flexible. So if you get it really tightened up, let me change the position of the lens board and demonstrate that. So this is another example of fiddling this. I've got to change the position of the lens board if I put on a really short lens. So I've got to do that manually. Again, it's not the end of the world. If you're in no hurry, which you probably shouldn't be if you're shooting large format, you just do it and you live with it. So now you can see I can pull this back for pretty close focus. Okay, and I still have plenty of movement capability here. Okay, let's stick with the back for a moment. You can do swings on the back. You can do that by unlocking these knobs. But I don't know. I think they claim that this is an asymmetric swing. I say it's just a loosey-goosey swing that is essentially meaningless. I found in playing with it, in an extreme situation, I was shooting down the back porch of our house and trying to keep all the posts in focus using back movements only, not front movements on this camera. And to get it done, as I swung it, it started to move the back out of position, so I ended up having to do massive shifts on the front to make up for it. I'm probably going the wrong way here, but when you're looking in the ground glass, you know what to do. So I ended up with the camera all crazy cockeyed to do it. Another thing that you wouldn't run into on a traditional field camera, probably because they don't have a lot of back movements usually, certainly not on a monorail. So that was another annoyance I've discovered in using the camera. Okay, so I've demoed the camera and I've kind of complained while I'm doing it, but let's go through the pros. The camera is really nicely engineered. It is a beautiful thing. The way it's engineered is very nice. All the metal is nicely machined. It's got carbon fiber wrapped around this wooden base. It's got the carbon fiber ground glass protector. The engineering of the camera is nothing to complain about, you know, for what it is, which is a Philips design wooden folding camera. It has excellent tactile qualities, as I mentioned. Just the way everything works is ultra smooth. It feels good in the hand. It feels good to use the camera. So I really appreciate that about it. It's incredibly smooth. It's really compact once it's folded up, so it's pretty easy to throw into just about any bag you have. As mentioned, it's incredibly light. It's about 3.5 pounds. I just weighed it. It's probably a little less than that without the tripod plate, but you're always going to have a tripod plate, so we'll count that. About 3.5 pounds, so ultra light. It's versatile, as I mentioned. The focal length support goes from wide angle to pretty darn telephoto very easily without changing bellows or any of that stuff. So it's great on that front. It has the asymmetric rear tilt, which is pretty rare on any camera. You'll find it on these. I believe Ebony made some, and I think Shenhao makes a camera that has it. I'm not positive about that. Pretty unusual. It's something you find on Sinar studio monorail cameras, and the people that use it really love it. And I have found it a bit helpful, but it's a little, you know, as I said, a little bit fiddly to get to it, kind of. The 90-degree backstop helps in setup, although I'd prefer a detent. So that's it for the pros. Let's talk about the cons again. I hope I don't beat any dead horses. There's only one 0 to 10 on the camera, and that's the asymmetric rear tilt. I'm glad it has it, but that's the only detent, and that's not probably a super commonly used function of the camera. Again, the non-orthogonal movements are really annoying, at least to me. Plenty of other people work right past it and love these cameras to death. Maybe you would too. There's no rear rise or fall on the camera, but that's not a big knock. A lot of field cameras don't have that, so it's not that big a deal. There's tons of range in the front for rise and fall. so you probably wouldn't find yourself being frustrated by the lack of rise and fall in the back. The so-called rear swing, I don't like it. Maybe it's not used that often, so it wouldn't really bother you, but I don't particularly like it. It's a little too random for me. Attaching and detaching the front standard in order to set the camera up, take it down, that's pretty annoying, and it slows down the process of setting up the camera. Combine that with the fact you can't fold a lens into the camera, it's just a slow camera to set up, relatively speaking. I think I can get my Arca Swiss monorail up and running faster than I can get this thing up and running. Maybe it's about the same. The Arca Swiss isn't as fiddly, so it doesn't feel as annoying to do. So, I guess you're getting the feeling by now that this is a mixed bag of a camera. And yes, I think it's a mixed bag of a camera. The price point is really good. It's around $1,000, I believe, depending on how you option it up. For that kind of money, for a new camera, it's pretty awesome if you can live with the downsides that I've mentioned. And I just want to stop for a second and say, when I talk about trade-offs in cameras, that's because everything has a trade-off. All engineering is, well, not all it is, a big part of engineering is figuring out what trade-offs you're going to make to sort of obtain a given goal. So this is a super lightweight, folding, wooden, carbon fiber, and metal camera that made certain trade-offs to have that come to life in terms of price, feature set, convenience, and so forth. I think they sort of traded off convenience against the things that make the camera ultralight, easy to carry, and so forth. Those things are not that important to me because I don't backpack up mountainsides with a camera. Somebody who does, they might really want this thing and they won't care so much about the setup fiddliness that I find annoying in the camera. I have no complaints about its construction whatsoever. As I mentioned before, it's insanely nice to use this thing. It is very precisely built, even though doing things like movements and so forth isn't particularly precise. So these are all trade-offs. I don't hate the camera. This camera I'm going to keep in addition to my Arca Swiss F Field, because this is kind of the opposite side of the Arca Swiss. If I am going to go on a long hike, I'm going to think really hard about taking this camera. If I'm going to be flying, maybe I want to save weight and take this camera. It's those kind of use cases you're going to have to think of when deciding for yourself whether the cons I point out are really big deals to you or not. So, all right, I've talked enough about the camera. Hope you like the review. Catch you later.